Dust swirled across the main street of Dry Creek as the sun began to sink behind the mesa. The town was small, mean, and half-drunk most days. But that night it burned bright with noise and whiskey laughter. Inside the Red Velvet Saloon, a storm was brewing that would change one cowboy's life forever. Jaxon Cole wasn't the kind of man who made promises lightly. A rugged rancher, quiet as stone, with eyes the color of storm clouds. Folks said he was born with a rope in one hand and a revolver in the other. He wasn't known for smiling much, but when he did, hearts stumbled. Every woman from Tombstone to Abilene had tried to catch that smile, and failed. That night, he was sitting at a poker table with a cigar hanging from his lips. Hat tilted low, boots crossed. And luck running wild. Cards, coins, and pride were the only things that mattered in Dry Creek's long evenings. But not far away, the air shifted. A hush fell over the saloon as she walked in. Lila Mae, the Red Velvet star dancer. She moved like smoke, soft, dangerous, unforgettable. Skin glowing bronze in the lamplight, eyes sharp as razors, lips red as danger. Every man in the room forgot his drink when she stepped on stage. She was the kind of woman who made even the toughest cowboys forget their guns. When her song ended, she caught Jaxon's gaze. He looked away. She smiled. He didn't. That's when Billy Crow, the loudmouthed gambler with too much whiskey and too little sense, slammed his hand on the table. "Well, well, well," he said, grinning at Jaxon. "Even the mighty Jaxon Cole ain't men enough to look the Red Velvet Queen in the eye." The saloon roared with laughter. Jaxon's jaw flexed. "I ain't got nothin' to prove, Crow." Billy leaned forward. "Then how about a little wager to test your steel? Losers gotta marry that saloon dancer over there." He pointed toward Lila Mae, who arched an eyebrow, amused. The whole saloon went silent. "Careful, Crow," Jaxon said, voice low as thunder. "You don't gamble with a woman's name." But Lila stepped forward, arms crossed. "Ain't no need to protect me, cowboy. If a man loses a bet fair and square, he best honor it, don't you think?" The room broke into laughter and cheers. Crow grinned. "Well said, Miss Lila. So, Jaxon, you in?" Jaxon stared at his cards, the flicker of oil lamps casting shadows across his face. He didn't like being challenged, and he liked being called a coward even less. He leaned back, slow and calm. "Fine. You got yourself a bet." The dealer shuffled. The cards flew. The whiskey poured. And the night stretched long and tense. It came down to one hand. Crow smirked, sweat dripping down his temple. Jaxon flipped his final card, and froze. Crow's grin widened. "Full house, cowboy." The crowd erupted. Hats flew. Glasses clinked. Jaxon exhaled slow, as if the air had been punched out of him. He looked at Lila Mae, who stood by the stage, arms folded, eyes unreadable. "Well, cowboy," she said, voice smooth as velvet. "Guess we're hitched." The next morning, the town of Dry Creek gathered under the burning sun to see the impossible. Jaxon Cole, the loneliest, toughest man west of the Pecos, stood beside the Red Velvet dancer in a small church at the edge of town. The preacher tried not to grin as he said the words. "Do you, Jaxon Cole, take this woman?" Jaxon's lips twitched. "Reckon I do." "And do you, Miss Lila Mae, take this man?" "I suppose I do," she said, smiling wide. When it was done, the saloon cheered. The preacher chuckled, and Jaxon looked like a man who'd just lost his last horse. That night, back at his ranch on the edge of the desert, Lila stood by the porch rail, looking at the endless sky. "Ain't much for conversation, are you?" she said softly. Jaxon was fixing his saddle. "Didn't reckon I had much to say." "Seems to me," she said, turning to face him, "you ain't ever had someone worth talkin' to." He glanced up, surprised by the calm in her eyes. Days passed. Then weeks. And somewhere between the quiet mornings and the long evenings, Something began to change. Lila wasn't just a dancer, she was fire and wisdom. She cooked like a dream, rode like the wind, and worked harder than most ranch hands. She laughed loud and lived louder, and before long, Jaxon found himself waiting for her laughter each morning. She'd sing while milking the cows, hum while fixing fences, and tease him till he forgot to be serious. He started smiling more, talking more, living more. And one night, as thunder rolled in the distance and rain swept across the plains, Jaxon found himself standing at the door, watching her light the lamp. Her skin shimmered gold in the glow. Her hair fell loose. "Lila," he said quietly. She turned. "Yeah, cowboy. I lost that bet. But feels like I won everything else." Her lips curved. "You just figured that out." He took off his hat, stepped closer. "Reckon I did." She smiled, eyes glistening. "Then kiss me, cowboy. Don't make me wait till sunrise." He did. The rain poured, lightning cracked the sky. And for the first time in years, Jaxon Cole felt alive. Not just breathing, but truly living. But the West had a way of testing happiness. One evening, a gang of outlaws rode into town, men Jaxon once called brothers from his darker days. Their leader, Colt Ramsey, was a mean son of a gun who hated losing more than sin itself. Jaxon Cole. He shouted from the ranch gate, rain pouring down his hat. "Heard you gone soft. Married a saloon girl and turned farmer." Jaxon stepped outside, unarmed. "Leave, Colt. Ain't no fight here." Colt grinned. "Not yet. But there will be. You owe me from back in Abilene." "I don't owe you nothin', Dot." Colt cocked his gun. "Then maybe your fancy wife can pay." Before Jaxon could blink, Lila stepped out, rifle in hand, eyes blazing. "You best ride out now, mister, for I send you to meet your maker." Colt laughed. "You got fire, woman." "Try me," she said coldly. Thunder cracked. Lightning flashed. And a single shot split the night. Colt's hat flew clean off his head. He looked at her in disbelief. Lila didn't flinch. "Next one don't miss." The gang hesitated, muttering. Colt growled, then spat into the dirt. "You ain't worth it, Cole. You got yourself a wild one." He turned his horse and rode off into the storm. Jaxon turned to her, heart pounding. "You could have been killed." Lila smirked. "And let my husband die defending me. Not in this lifetime." He took her hand, rough and trembling. "You ain't just the wife I never expected. You're the dream I didn't know I had." She squeezed his hand. "Then stop dreamin', cowboy. We got a life to live." And from that day forward, they did. Jaxon and Lila built a ranch that became the heartbeat of Dry Creek. Folks who once laughed at their marriage came to see what real love looked like: fire and forgiveness, strength and tenderness, side by side. And on quiet nights, when the desert wind sang through the cottonwoods, Jaxon would sit on that porch, arm around Lila, and whisper, "Best damn bet I ever lost."